So, the first type, rate of change and a starting point. Okay, so if we are given a rate of change is another word for what? Slope. What variable do we use for that? M. So if we have an M and a point, so that's like our XY. Or sorry, not a point, a starting point. That's the y-intercept, the one-time thing. What variable do we use for a y-intercept? So our equation, we can just do y equals mx plus b. So let's look at this problem. Angie's school is doing a run-a-thon fundraiser. Her aunt has pledged to donate $20 plus a quarter for each lap that Angie runs. So let's stop right there. That's all we need. I talked Friday about the last sentence is asking you to solve the second problem. Okay, a couple problems that we've seen is people not knowing what x and y are. So before you actually solve anything, let's figure out what our x and our y represent in each problem. Okay, and I would like it if you would write that down. And when you write it down, x and y are not numbers. Okay, you're not saying x is 5 and y is 11. You are telling me what do those variables represent in the problem. So what could my x represent? The laps. So you are writing the word laps. You're not putting a quarter. The x is the number of laps she's running. And then what would my y be? Okay, so then the $20, her aunt is giving her a flat $20. That's a one-time payment. So what would we put for that? What variable? We need M and we need B. So we have to decide which one 20 is. The M is repeated. A lot of times we might see the word per, but we know we get that payment more than once. Is the $20 multiple times or one time? One time. And a quarter. So what would I put for my M? 0.25. All right, so everybody should have that written down on their paper. I want to know what x is in words, what y is, M and B. So now my equation would be what? All right. Now that my equation is written, I can go back and answer the second question. I want to find how many laps Angie would need to run to make $50. Okay, the second problem that I saw was not plugging that in for the correct variable. So which variable is our money? The y was our money. That's why we wrote that down. So I know my y is 50. So I'm going to plug in 50 for my y and solve this. So subtract 20. Divide by 0.25. And we get 120. And then I would like a label on that. X was laps. So she has to run 120 laps to make $50. I don't know if that'd be worth it for me, but maybe for some people.
120 laps.
Maybe they're short laps. I don't know.
100 yards.
All right. We are going to go down to the next type. So this is when we have two different objects or categories. So we usually we use one of them for the X and one of them for the Y. I'm not giving you full ordered pairs, we just have two different things. So we're going down, we're working the problem below this. So we use the standard form equation. AX plus BY equals C. have two totally different things. No slope given, no actual ordered pairs given. And we have to do this because we don't have any given information. So if we look, Thomas had a bunch of quarters and nickels in his pocket, totaling $8.75. Okay, stop right there because the second sentence is my question that we have to solve later. Did I give you any information for an ordered pair there? Did I give you a slope, something per something? No. All I know is he has quarters and he has nickels. So that's two different variables. So first thing I want you to do every time is tell me what X and Y are. So I'm just going to say X is my quarters and Y is my nickels. Everybody write that down. Now the next thing, we have to write an equation. Okay, it's standard form, ax plus by equals c, because we don't have the slope or y-intercept here. How much is a quarter worth?
25 cents.
So 0.25x plus, how much is a nickel worth? 5 cents. So 0.05y equals what? The total amount of money he had, $8.75. That is the equation. So now we have to go back and find the other thing. It says Thomas has 28 quarters. Quarters are which variable? So our x is 28. So I'm going to plug that in. So 0.25 times 28 gives me a 7. And then what would we do?
Minus 7.
So we have 0.05y equals 1.75. Divide. So 1.75 divided by 0.05 gives us 35. And I would like a label on it. What is this? And I know that because I wrote down y is the nickels. So far, so good? And another. Okay, so the third option is if we are given a single point, so one particular instance in time, and the rate of change. So I'm going to put my point, I'm just going to call that x1, y1. My rate of change is my slope. Then we can do point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So if I want to look at this problem. Martin has been charging $15 per lawn to mow lawns over the summer to save up money. If, after mowing 23 lawns, Martin had $435 in his savings account, write and solve an equation. So this is the part we need to get our first equation. First thing I want, every problem. I want everybody to do this. Make sure you are telling me what x and y are. Okay, so when we look at this, do you have any idea what those things might be? Yeah. If you look, the one with the per is always what? The slope. And it's when we find slope, we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, so it's y per x. So my x is the lawn, and the y is my money. So then we know he had $15 per lawn, so that would be M. And then after mowing 23 lawns, he had $435. So that is one particular instance. Those numbers go together. The 23 lawns gave him this much money. So that's an order pair. So you should have all of that stuff written down. Now we can write the equation. Y minus y1 equals M, so it's 15, times x minus x1. So distribute the 15. Add over the 435. And we get y equals 15x plus 90. All right, now we insert the question. We want to find how many lawns he'll need to mow to make $750. So dollars is my y. So my y is 750. So we plug that in. So 750 equals 15x plus 90. Subtract the 90. Divide the 15. You get 44. What would the label be? X is lawns. That's why we have it written out in words. I didn't say X was 23 and Y was 435. I wrote out in words what those variables represent. Questions on that one? Is it getting better with practice? The more we do it, hopefully. Especially if you're showing your work. Most of the struggles I've seen is from not writing things down. And so then plugging in things for the wrong variables. Alright, last one. So sometimes all we are given are two different points, two different snapshots in time. So we could say one of them is x1, y1, the other is x2, y2. So then the first thing you'll have to do is find slope. y2 minus y1 for x2 minus x1. And then we can do the equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this one tells me an antique vase was worth $185 when you inherited it from your grandmother in 2007. In 2017, the vase is worth $325. Write and solve an equation to find out how much the vase should be worth in 2025. What do you want to do? What should our, 185 is when we inherited it, and then we have another year. So what could my X represent? We have dollars, and what's the other thing we have? Years. Technically, you could make either one. It won't matter as long as you've labeled. But most of our other problems, our Y is always our dollars, so let's just make the X the year and the Y the dollar. Okay, there's a couple different ways we could write this, these points. One of them will be a little bit easier than the other. So we could use the year as 2007 and the amount is 185, but I will say we're going to have some nasty numbers if we do that. The other thing we could do is say if 2007 is the starting point. So I could say like 2007 is when we began, so that's year 0, and it's worth 185. And then 2017 is how many years later? 10. So I can make that a 10 and a 325. You can write it either way, but this will be a lot nicer. We'll have more reasonable numbers. So now we need our slope. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So we get be 14. Take a point and a slope, so Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1, so I'm just doing the first point. So I get my Y to be 14x plus 185. All right. So now what?
We plug in to 1.
Okay, so my year. So if we started in 2007, 2025 is how much later? 18. 2025 minus 2007 is 18, so then we can plug in an 18. And we get 437, and what should be the label there?